The rise of racist political parties. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. I thought we'd have a talk about, well, the growth of race-based political parties all around the world. Now, as a geriatric millennial, I was brought up during a time when we were educated to not really judge people based on their race. There's a whole bunch of other more efficient ways to judge them than such an outmoded concept. And, well, maybe I'm just old and out of touch because there seem to be more and more of these parties based purely on race or ethnicity popping up and representing these groups. Now, I thought we'd get started and ask the viewers of my channel what you thought. Should these type of parties, should political parties that are race-based be made illegal? And this is the poll. It's been up for a day. 285 were brave enough to vote. We had 74% say yes, should race-based political parties be illegal, and 26% said no. And let's have a look at some of the comments. Political parties should be required to represent and work for all people within the country. That's what I thought too. I agree with that 100%. That seems to be part of my criticism of the voice to Parliament was that Indigenous Australians all throughout Australia already had a voice to Parliament. It was their elected representative in the House of Reps. Now, perhaps we need to ensure that the representatives that have large, remote constituents have the capacity to adequately engage with the people they represent, rather than setting up a whole separate other body to represent these people based on race. But maybe that's just an outmoded idea. We're beyond the concept now, or it feels like the younger generation want to be racist. That's the concern that I'm getting here. Well, what do you think, guys? I mean, there's a push for white people purely based on your race to feel guilty about acts in the past which you and your forefathers had nothing to do with. And there's a whole ignorance regarding, well, look at slavery. There's no discussion at all about the Muslim world and their involvement in the slave trade, or the African tribes and their involvement in the slave trade. It seems to be... I'm falling into the dangerous trap that I assume certain things are common knowledge when they really aren't. So, we should all be skin color blind, as Martin Luther King Jr. said. Judge a person by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. I agree, but I think this is becoming, I think the Overton window is shifting to such an extent that this is becoming a radical view. Should women be allowed to stir dissent based on their gender? That's another question. Basing a political movement party on a given race of people will be by definition racist. The same was basing a political party movement on either male or female will inherently be sexist against the other. I would happily settle for a political party who actually puts the interests of Australian tax-paying citizens, and I mean actual citizens, not the ones here for 5 minutes and get fast-track citizenship first, regardless of the skin color or their genitals, instead of doing everything they can to destroy the working class of this country. We've got another one. No. We now live in a world where facts are not addressed in the name of political correctness. So academics are blacklisted with opposed positions to the message that is pushed on society. Nothing should be better off the table when it comes to facts. Well, we don't really like facts, do we? Sean is saying Indian Australians will be taking over Indigenous Australians this year as a percentage of the population. If a party has started to represent their interests, why not? They might even have to put the Indian flag next to the Harbour Bridge. Well, I'll have to check that. Is that correct? Are they overtaking the Indigenous population? I'd be shocked if it would be. Correct? Let's have a look. What are people replying? Aboriginal DNA traces back to India. Well, yeah, there's a link there. Herbert is going, it's human nature to discriminate in one way or another. Those that say it's racist and shouldn't happen are also discriminating against others. There needs to be full freedom of thought, expression of opinions, right of association and speech. There is no such thing as hate speech as well. Violence against others for any reason other than self-defense is not acceptable. So we have the libertarian argument put forward here. I mean, you could make the argument that people should be able to associate with whoever they want. Now, are they allowed to exclude others based on that association? That's the question. And we don't have free speech here in Australia at all. So we've got policed speech. And the UK is even worse, to the point where it seems like in the media that crimes are ignored and they're policing speech more than anything else. The word Commonwealth represents the democratic belief that politics, regardless of side, should represent the wealth of all, not the betterment of a minority. The royals are the original minority and took centuries to place in an egalitarian position. To place a minority in status above the common person is objectively a form of supremacy. It's a good point. And it certainly seems like that is happening. Race-based parties should be illegal, and in addition, race-based legislation should be unconstitutional. We need a referendum. Well, we had a referendum on The Voice. And there are still state governments forming treaties with the indigenous population or with indigenous representatives of certain groups. Is that appropriate? How can you form a treaty with your own people? Are you admitting that they're a separate legal entity, a separate nation, a separate group? Are they sovereign to yours? Or are they Australian? What happened to we're one? We're many. I'm pretty sure you'll get arrested if you explain why you voted either way. How about this for a poll question? Was Australia more a socially cohesive society when the white Australian policy was enforced? Oh, there you go. That's a controversial question there. Shouldn't be illegal, just don't vote for them. So Dave is saying freedom of association. Let people make these parties and just don't vote for them. We're all Australian. Are you? No, because I believe in free speech. The question is wrong. Race is a huge part of the body politic. And as we've seen greater numbers of other people come, the more tribal it will become once they have a large enough voting bloc. Well, we're seeing that in New York. They'll leave the Labor Party and start their own parties. We're starting to see that happen here in Australia already. And what we've got, an Indigenous party, and you've got religious-based parties more. There's obviously Christian parties, and then you've got now Islamic parties started. That's not race, but that's another question. Should religious-based parties be allowed? I mean, it's all politics, isn't it? It's all ideology. Freedom to assemble. Just look at South Africa and Ukraine. Self-explanatory in my opinion. Is there really a need for an ethnic majority MP in an ethnic suburb when you already have the ethnic community leader? Aren't these two roles the same shit? Invoice the taxpayer but don't solve any ethnic social issues. How is it legal? Everything else is legal. They don't fit in. There's only one race, the human race, and different ethnicities. One race, two genders. One race, different cultures. So now let's have a look over here. These are some of these race-based parties around the world. Before we look at those, let's look at what we have in Australia here and what prompted me to consider this. So here we have the Indigenous Aboriginal Party of Australia. Let's have a look at their policies. So healthy rivers, healthy people, Indigenous kids stay with their families, no juveniles to be placed in detention, end Indigenous incarceration. I mean, if you commit a crime, you have to go to jail, don't you? Indigenous control of Indigenous school education, save our sacred sites. So these are Indigenous issues. And, I mean, these need to be addressed. And is this party appropriate? Should it be made illegal? Because, well, it's a race-based party. It's for Indigenous Australians. Most of the voters of the channel said yes, that racist parties should be illegal, 74%. But then we have another group that's starting a party here in Australia, the White Australia Party. Now, I don't know what their policies are, but this is a radical right-wing party. You know, White Australia is a legacy, only just the beginning. We aren't simply nostalgic for bygone times. We're dreaming of a great future. I mean, you've got Nazis here in this party. Okay? So that's, if you're happy with an Indigenous party like this, are you happy with a party like this? Should one be allowed or the other? The libertarian argument will be to allow all of them to have freedom of association so you can get the public venting of ideas. What about around the world? In North America, you've got the First Peoples Party of Canada, another Indigenous party, Indigenous rights and political participation. The Choctaw Youth Movement, a grassroots nationalist movement advocating for Choctaw identity rights. The Guatemalan National Revolutionary Unit included Indigenous representation in its leftist platform. The National Revolutionary Movement, I mean, that sounds militant. The Native Hawaiian nationalist parties. South America, you've got the Movimiento El Socialismo, the MAS in Bolivia. While not exclusively indigenous, it has strong indigenous leadership and support, especially under Evo Morales. The PPUM in Ecuador, indigenous peoples and their interests. The Swedish People's Party in Finland. The Democratic Union of Hungarians in Romania. The South African People's Organization in Namibia. The National Movement of the Revolution of the Republic of Congo. The Taiwan Indigenous Peoples Party. The Bodolo People's Front in India. The United Malaysian National Organization in Malaysia. You've got the Maori Party in New Zealand, and well, they're referring to the Tent Embassy, but we have an Indigenous party here in Australia. So, well, let's have a bit of reflection and a discussion about this. I mean, you can see the majority of the people that voted here would argue that race-based parties should be illegal. But we've got a lot of different race-based groups. The majority of them seem to be indigenous or ethnicities in, the diaspora of their group around in different countries, particularly in Europe and neighboring countries, wanting to represent their interests. Now, should these parties still be illegal? Do you want to have National Socialists raising race-based parties as well? You know, the argument is allow all the ideas to be put on the public forum so the sunlight can be cast and the stupid and evil can be identified. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.